What's going on, boys and girls? I hope you're well. Happy New Year. May 2026 bring you absolutely nothing but joy and success. And as an Arsenal fan, I hope that we finally get our hands on that Premier League trophy and maybe a few more. This is my match preview video for Bournemouth versus Arsenal in what is an opportunity for Arsenal to kick on from that unbelievable performance against Aston Villa and create even further distance between us and City, who somewhat surprisingly dropped points to Sunderland, which was a brilliant result for Arsenal, considering the amount of players Sunderland were missing from mainly AFCON, I believe. But for them to put in that performance and hold City to a 0-0 draw, that was an unbelievable effort by them and allowed us to create just that little bit extra gap, which is never a bad thing when we're talking about Man City. So if we can go on and win this game, all of a sudden we've got a 7-point lead over City, and you just don't know what that might do to them as they go into their fixture against Chelsea. But if I kind of go back to the centrepiece of this, which is a preview on Arsenal's game against Bournemouth. Bournemouth are in 15th right now. They actually haven't won in their last 10 Premier League outings, which kind of took me by surprise. There's a lot of draws and a few losses in there. Their most recent result was a fairly impressive 2-2 result against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. But I just don't think Bournemouth are the same Bournemouth as last season. And so when you look at where the two teams are right now, I just think from a point of confidence, form, and general mood of the players, I think Arsenal should be looking to go here and get the job done with a level of ease, I think. I find it interesting that Semenyo, who looks like he is all but on his way to Man City, I'm really interested to see if he will play in this game. He is obviously their number one danger man, to the point where he's garnered interest from Liverpool, City, Chelsea. According to all the reports, he's there. He's agreed personal terms with City, and the deal is just a matter of final ticks and checks and a medical. So I'm finding it really interesting that he might actually play in this game. The Bournemouth coach Areola has come out and said that he will be available to play against Arsenal. I find that unbelievable. Like, if the two clubs have agreed on a deal for the player, I find it quite insane that City would be prepared to let him play in this game, because if he gets injured, then the deal falls through. So I don't know if that's a cheeky little play from City, thinking, right, we'll let you have your star man for one more game, which just so happens to be against our main title rivals, or whether Bournemouth have just kind of held firm on saying we need him for a few more games, because I was kind of expecting that he would be holding up a City shirt, by the 1st or 2nd of January. So yeah, it does look like he's going to be it does look like he will play against us, which means that we will have to keep him quiet for sure. Look, Bournemouth they still have some players that can cause some damage. They've got Evan Nielsen up front, Semenyo obviously. I think Justin Kluivert is a dangerous little player on his day. So there's definitely some threats there that Bournemouth will present to us. And I think any away game in the Premier League is always going to be a tricky obstacle. So Arsenal will definitely need to be switched on. They'll need to be ready for this, and they'll need to start well and quieten down that the home fans, and hopefully try and get an early goal and kind of set the tempo for the rest of the game. In terms of Arsenal's injury concerns, obviously the big one is Declan Rice. I have just within the last hour or two read some reports online that he has travelled with the squad, which is brilliant news. It indicates to me that the injury is not that significant as maybe first feared. But in my personal opinion, I don't want to see Declan Rice playing this game. For me, I want Declan Rice rested, wrapped up in cotton wool, and saved for the Liverpool game next weekend. I think that is the much bigger of the two games, and that is the game where I feel like Declan Rice is much more needed. So I'd be resting Declan Rice for this one. If he wants to be on the bench, cool, but I definitely don't really want him playing any minutes in this game. Calafiori is still out. I've got a worrying feeling that might be a more significant injury than we all think. the fact that Arteta's not willing to put any kind of timeline on it makes me think that there's some uncertainty around exactly how bad this injury is. Outside of that, it's all the usual ones. Mosquera, still out. Who else? I think that's it, really. I think we are finally getting back to a decent place with the injuries. I think in terms of starting 11, obviously David Raya will be in goal. Right back, although Ben White is now back and part of the squad, I believe it will be Yuri and Timber. At centre back, we finally now can start speaking confidently about the fact we have Gabriel and Saliba back in place. So that will be our centre back partnership. And then it will just come down to whether he goes with Nketiah or Lewis Skelly. Look, I don't have an issue with either player. It's a bit of a flip of a coin, really. I think he might go with Nketiah, just because I think he is more of the natural left back, but it wouldn't surprise me if he goes with Lewis Skelly. Zubimendi will slot into the 6. And then it's just about what he does in the Rice position. Does he play Merino again? I don't think Merino's played a ton of football in recent weeks, so you probably could go with Merino again and Odegaard in the 10, so keep the same midfield, allow that team to build on that incredible performance. Saka on the right. On the left, I mean, Eze. When does Eze start getting some minutes? He didn't come on against Aston Villa. He hasn't played a lot of football in recent weeks, and you kind of get into the point of, is this the type of game where you are allowed to rotate a little and you can bring in the likes of Eze? We're not talking about, bringing in a nobody player, a bench player who doesn't have the ability to impact a game of this nature. We're talking about a player of Eze's quality. So on one hand, I would like to see Eze be given a chance, but then you've got Martinelli sitting there as well. Martinelli also didn't start the Aston Villa game, did come on, I think, in the late towards the end of the second half, I think. Did he come on against Aston Villa? I'm not sure. So yeah, I mean, this is the thing now. We have options. I haven't even mentioned Madueke on the right-hand side. Could Madueke come in for Saka? Saka didn't have his best of games against Aston Villa, but I think that was more down to the way we decided to play in that game. So we have options. Eze could come in for Odegaard and we could give Odegaard a bit of a rest. Odegaard's played a lot of football since coming back from this most recent injury. Is this an opportunity to rest Odegaard and let Eze play in the 10? There's a lot of options. I don't really know. We've got a lot of games coming up in January, so Arteta will have to rotate, and this is why you build a squad of this nature. If he believes in all of these players like he says he does, then he has to be okay with rotating. I know as us fans, if he was to rotate heavily in this game and we were to draw or lose, then the knives would be out for Arteta, but we have to back these players and say that we've put together an unbelievable squad. And so it really shouldn't matter who comes into these games. They should be doing a job. They should be performing at a level. So, yeah, look, I don't know. I'm spiraling here because I really don't know what he'll do. I think the back five picks itself to some extent. It's really just a case of Nketiah or Lewis Skelly. I think Zubimendi without doubt starts in the 6. I think he will go with Merino and Odegaard, and then it's just about whether he maybe mixes up that front 3. Does he give Jesus a chance after another really impressive cameo coming on for a goalless Gyökeres? Does he give Jesus that chance to start? Does he bring Madueke in, who hasn't seen a lot of football recently, and give Saka a bit of a rest and save him for Liverpool? Does he do the same on the left with Trossard and bring in Martinelli or Eze? I do think it's important that we don't change the entire front 3, or the entire front 4 if you include Odegaard into that. I do think we need a little bit of cohesion there. So if I was a betting man, I'm going Zubimendi, Merino, Odegaard. I think he might put Madueke on the right, and he might go with Jesus up top and leave Trossard on the left. Maybe he'll do that. I don't know. But I guess where I'm trying to go with this point is that whoever plays, we should have enough quality on that pitch to beat Bournemouth, particularly when you factor in the way they're playing. And look, I know every game's different. Every game is a new opportunity for a team to put the past behind them. But for what we're playing for right now, the confidence the team must be feeling, seeing Man City slip up a little against Sunderland, I really do expect us to come into this game all guns blazing. And so I'm going to go with I want us to keep scoring goals. Those 4 goals, I love seeing us score some goals for once. So part of me wants to go with a 3-0. But I also just think that Bournemouth might be able to nick a goal somewhere in the match. So I'm going to go 3-1 Arsenal. 3-1 Arsenal. And my star man for the game will be... If Eze starts, I think he'll have a blinder. Otherwise, my star man will be Gabriel at the back. Big Gabby. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'd love to know who you think the starting 11 should be or will be. Do you think we should rest with eyes on Liverpool? And with obviously a big January around the corner, is this a game where we can rotate and rest some players? Do you think we should risk Declan Rice if he's fit enough to start? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.